Parent says it's not our business what her son does on the community garden, so we let him get up to his neck in shit, literally. Happened just a couple of hours ago. This story is so fresh you can still smell it. On our community garden we get teams of kids from the local school come to help, and it's often the case that they turn up on a Saturday morning as well. They're almost entirely well behaved, which is a good job as there's not a lot we can do about bad behavior beyond a stern voice. Although one time a lad kicked one of our rabbits so a girl brained him with a shovel, rough but effective justice. There's this one lad who came for the first time last week, don't know him but we made him very welcome. He only lasted half an hour before storming off in tears after his third telling off for spinning round and round holding a tool and then letting it fly off at head height. This morning his mum, I assume, came with him. I saw him point out my friend and me, but he didn't ask to join in, so after shouting hello we let them be. After about 10 minutes he started wandering and my friend shouted to him, "Don't go round behind the greenhouse, mate, it's not safe round there." Well, his mum had obviously been waiting for this because she went 0 to 100 in 2 seconds flat, demanding to know, do we own this garden, and if not, what business is it of ours where her son goes? We explained we just want him to be safe, and she replied that she's quite capable of taking care of that herself, thank you. Fine, on you go. Off he went, exploring behind the greenhouse, which is not safe because it's the compost heap, which is very unstable, and the muck mound, which is a giant pile of horse manure we get delivered every autumn. By the spring the inside is all nice and rotted down, and the outside is hard, crusty, and less strong than you think. After a minute there was a crunch, a squeal, and I think we did very well to drag him out without saying "I told you so" or breaking into guffaws. He was absolutely black from chest height downwards, and although well-rotted manure doesn't smell really bad, it is very thick and sticky and slimy. His mum grabbed him without a word and they headed for the gate. He started bawling as soon as the surprise wore off. My friend said, "Would you like some bin bags to spread out in your car?" and to her credit she did say thanks when he handed them over. I wonder if we'll see them again next week. Edit. To everyone saying we should have made a point of some kind. If you're mean to kids or they think you're making fun of them, they just don't come back. Kids, and adults, do stupid shit all the time, and you quickly get into the habit of just dusting them down and getting on with things. Don't get me wrong, we definitely laugh about it later, but how's a little knobhead like this going to learn, if he doesn't come back to the allotment and get his hands dirty? Now to the comments. Augustus Gloop learned a good lesson today, or should I say Augustus Poop. Augustus Gloop, now he's covered in thick horse poop. It isn't quite so bad as it isn't really smelly now the silly young lad is covered up to his belly. I bet he wished that he really hadn't come when he's covered head to foot in the products of a bum. We Oompa Loompas have had a good laugh as Augustus has to spend a week in the bath. My kids and wife are now looking at me after bursting out laughing. Thank you for the laugh, I needed it. So a girl brained him with a shovel. Not often is karma instant, but here it seems it was. Edit. Considering the sentence wasn't followed by "and then the ambulance came," I think it's safe to assume it was just a childly bonk that could be fixed with a band-aid, and not some trench warfare style shovel attack as some seem to fear. I want more details of the story of this little girl, defender of bunnies. Same. She doubles up as security. Mind you, I have thrown my secateurs at someone at one of these places. That is an uplifting and satisfying story. It's also believable. It's really the edit that seals the deal for the legitimacy for me. Although one time a lad kicked one of our rabbits so a girl brained him with a shovel, rough but effective justice. Cognitive recalibration via kinetic force is usually an effective deterrent. Percussive readjustment. Bonk. Do let us know if he comes again next week. I agree, I'm curious to see if they come back. Manure. I hate manure. Me too, Biff, me too. There are no community gardens in the country I live in and I don't know how they work, so please don't take my questions the wrong way. Do you and your friend work there or are you just neighbors who spend their free time? It seemed weird to me that you just couldn't say the kid is not allowed in that area. OP replied. The chickens, rabbits, and sheds have all got locks on, but other than that people can do as they please. There's almost always a regular up there to keep an eye on things, and generally kids and adults alike are happy to follow advice if they've turned up to help. What prevents strangers from stealing the fruits of your labors? You shouldn't have pulled him out. His mum is quite capable of looking after him herself. Bet she would have loved the opportunity to help him out from the manure. Yes, since you don't own the kid, it's not your responsibility to pull him out. Let the mom do that. Ha ha ha, that's good shit. OP replied. It really is, you should see my tomatoes. I would love to. Along with bunny pics and a potential follow-up next week. You really needed to tell mom, and that's why it's not safe would have been grand. OP replied. Ha ha ha, damn it. And that is how you avoid a really shitty situation. Yeah. While I loved the story, my favorite part was the casual brained him with a shovel comment. Perfect response to kicking the bunny. I rarely condone violence as a teaching method, but don't duck with the animals. Especially something as defenseless and delicate as a rabbit. I'd love to buy that shovel knight a treat. Don't spread the bin bags out. Much easier to just stick the kid in one up to the neck. I don't think you heckled them enough after the fact. I would have given them much more shit. Pun intended. Never understood the philosophy that only I can parent my kid. I mean, ultimately, I'm responsible, but I expect other adults in the village to do their part, step in if it was ever needed for safety, or let me know if they were doing something dangerous or just being obnoxious. I don't mean free babysitting, of course, but more like the OPS story, just being welcoming and keeping an eye out. Kids need to learn that different places and different people have different rules, and they need to be able to context switch and adapt. I feel it's a very recent take. Well, this current parents' generation take, at least. I remember that any adult was seen as authority figure to listen to when I was a kid, and that they did have the right to yell at us when we did something we shouldn't have done. My and my friend parents encouraged this kind of thinking. Matt's dad yelled at me. What for? I was dragging mud all over his house. I hope you apologized, right? Why wouldn't you say I told you so? Those would have been the first words out of my mouth. I'd have had a big smug grin on my face too. OP replied. Just trying so hard not to laugh, honestly. Saw it coming, enjoyed it in full. Proper comedy squelch sound when we grabbed a shoulder each and yanked him out, too. At least his shoes stayed on. Would have been better if mum had to dig around in the pile for them. Although one time a lad kicked one of our rabbits so a girl brained him with a shovel, rough but effective justice. My dad always said never put your hands on another person in anger. Use a tool so you don't risk bruised knuckles on some shithook who can't act right. To everyone saying we should have made a point of some kind, if you're mean to kids or they think you're making fun of them, they just don't come back. Yup, they are kids after all. He acts that way because of his parents. Can't be mad at him, just his shitty mother. This story is so fresh you can still smell it. As a lover of puns, I applaud you for this. This story has such a satisfying ending to it. Somehow the mother became convinced it's not safe when her son turned into a shit stick. Not that he wasn't a turd in the first place. One time a lad kicked one of our rabbits. A girl brained him with a shovel. Ah, I see you've met my daughter. This is what happens when you grow up with brothers and pets. Your edit comment basically saying that this is how kids learn and there was no reason to heap on the mockery. To his shame was good teaching. It sounds like you have a lovely learning space for kids. Well, now your son is up to his neck in manure, but you're right, that's now of my business. Parents like that aren't angry that you're disciplining their child, they is angry that they have to be a parent for a change. Your edit is baller. Thank you for understanding that some knobhead kids need to learn the hard way. My son has ADHD and is either super well behaved or a mini terror, and it's very frustrating when we hit the second one. He's definitely a knob who needs the occasional hands-on lesson moment to learn.